Joining us on 710 KURV from Border Patrol, RGV Sector, Raul Ortiz and Chief Kevin Oakes. Gentlemen, thanks for stopping by. I understand you guys have been busy of late. What's going on?
There's really nothing going on in the Valley as we speak right now.
It's kind of slow right now.
It's kind of slow. No, actually, there's a lot going on. And Raul Ortiz is the Deputy Chief of the Rio Grande Valley Sector. But anyway, so we're about 200,000 arrests beginning of the fiscal year till present. Had a lot of activity, a lot of people coming to visit us, a lot of congressmen and CODELs and staffdels and other interested people. It's a pretty interesting time for RGV.
Let's just cut to the chase. One of the big headlines that we've been making here in South Texas, the conditions of these illegal immigrants that come. They stay, they're housed in these, detention facilities and these holding cells that are not made, they're not made to hold that many people. And they're staying in there 4 or 5 days, or even more than that, and all these complaints of people. In essence, it's like going to jail. I mean, you've been caught, you're being detained. It's like going to jail. Jail is not comfortable. So it is what it is. But I know you guys have been trying the best you can to make things as livable and comfortable as possible and get them out of there as quickly as possible.
Well, it's true. I mean, it's an arduous trip for them. What these people are going through to get here, to the safety of the United States is something that we wouldn't wish on anybody. And the conditions in the Border Patrol facilities, they're processing centers.
Yeah.
These are intended to process people for 12 to 24 hours, and then they're supposed to be remanded to the custody of ICE ERO, or in case of the juveniles, it's Health and Human Services Office of Refugee Resettlement. And unfortunately, with the volume and flow that we're experiencing, the back end is, you got a stream coming in and a trickle going out. Much like if you were going down the road and you were stopped by a local police agency and arrested, you'd be taken to their local precinct, you'd be booked, and then turned over to the county jail. And so, where we have, 4,000 people in custody, continuously in a 24-hour cycle, 1,800 of which are unaccompanied children and other minors.
Deputy Chief for the RGV Sector is Raul Ortiz. Come up to the mic, my friend. Okay. I understand you have been seeing record numbers of people just giving themselves up. Hey, we're here. Aquí estamos. We just came in from Central America. Take us into custody, because they have the hope that they're going to be caught and released over a 24-hour or maybe longer period, a cycle. What are some of the numbers that you've been seeing of late of people actually surrendering to you?
So to date, RGV has apprehended about 200,000 apprehensions. And so in that, we average on daily 1,300 apprehensions. We have a large percentage coming through a certain area right around the Hidalgo POE. And those are the unaccompanied children in the family units you read about. But we also have a large contingency of folks that are crossing out in some of our other zones, and those folks aren't giving up. So I do want to say that our agents, aren't just dealing with, a low-threat environment all the time. We've got narcotics coming across the river. We also have some folks from
Is
gangs.
DPS helping you in that regard?
Oh, I tell you what, the DPS troopers and that agency has really stepped up to the plate.
You're seeing a difference with the DPS surge that they're calling?
Yeah, most definitely. We like to use a football analogy out there that we're on the front lines as sort of the linemen, and DPS and our agency partners like the Sheriff's Department and the police departments, Mission PD, Hidalgo County Sheriff's Department have really stepped up to the plate for us. So we really appreciate those efforts.
Chief, this new huge processing facility that is going to be opening up soon, that's got to give you some help. When do you expect to see that open? And can you kind of detail exactly what its purpose is going to be?
Mid-July, and the purpose is just overflow for the unaccompanied juveniles. And so, it takes us about 20 hours to process the juvenile, and then they're remanded to the custody of Health and Human Services Office of Refugee Resettlement. And unfortunately, there's not enough capacity on the other end, all these other placement facilities throughout the United States. So Border Patrol used its funding, CBP, Customs and Border Protection, to lease a warehouse and retrofit it so it can house juveniles until they can be picked up and then remanded into the custody of HHS so they can eventually be repatriated or whatever their final disposition is going to be.
That will also serve as a holding facility.
Absolutely.
Processing and holding facility.
About 1,200 is the capacity.
And you're getting some help possibly from Dallas County, we hear now, too.
I think they're anticipating opening up a juvenile overflow facility up there as well.
Will you be seeing Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson today?
He is coming in for a visit with the chairperson for the Appropriations Committee, which is very important to us because they hold the purse strings, and also the Secretary of Health and Human Services.
What will be your message to them today?
Well, it's a simple message, and it's the same message that we've been preaching the whole time. We have this is a detention or a removal situation. This isn't an enforcement situation. We can't enforce our way out of this. And so what has to happen is these juveniles and family units need to be taken out of our custody quicker than what they currently are, because our facilities aren't built to house people long term.
Our guest in studio on 710 KURV, Border Patrol Sector Chief Kevin Oakes, along with Deputy Chief Raul Ortiz. That juvenile holding facility that's going to open up in a couple of weeks in McAllen that has the capacity for 1,000 kids, is that a quick or a very temporary shelter facility, like you're going to have them for 24, 48, 72 hours, and then send them off to another shelter, similar to what we have like in Harlingen, that's a more of a long-term type of shelter out in Harlan? Do you know what type of, is this like an extension of your office where you finally have a holding tank that's much bigger for all the kids?
Absolutely. That's all it's intended to do, is an overflow to relieve the crowding that we currently experience.
All right. And the facility up at Lackland, do you know if that one gets shut down as a result, or do you still need that one up there?
DOD facility, DOD is opened a couple of their facilities around the country to, help with the surge, and I'm not sure if those are going to be long term or not.
There is a report on AP that the president's calling for $2 billion and a quick return of Central American immigrants, just kind of like the Mexican policy that you have right now. But does that affect children? For example, we've come to learn that kids that come on their own, they're not leaving. They're going to get a piece of paper. They're going to find a family member. That's why we have these holding tanks for these kids, because we're going to keep them, and we're going to find a family member, and they're going to stay here. Is that the policy also for Mexican kids when they come here on their own? They're able to stay and find a family member? Or is this new policy? Because we read that on AP that the president wants $2 billion, more enforcement, I guess, help with Central America, also a fast-track deportation policy. So are we saying the day on the horizon where these Central American kids will also be returned to Central America quickly?
Well, in terms of government of Mexico, we work really well with the Mexican consulates here in McAllen and Brownsville. And so if we get unaccompanied juveniles that are Mexican citizens, the consulate takes custody of them after we determine, that they're not a threat to, our environment, and they're returned immediately. Unfortunately, with Central and South Americans, we cannot deport them back to Mexico. We have to work through the
nor should we send them back to Mexico.
And so, it's more of a process to work with the consulates and the embassies to get them back to their countries, and we have to fly them or bus them back there, and it does take some time. In terms of the juveniles that have family units, other family members in the United States, many of those are being repatriated. But I think the policy change in the future is they're looking at repatriating a lot of these juveniles and sending them back faster, and also the family units, because, currently, you have to have some consequences for some of these people that cross, otherwise they continue to cross.
And for you folks, the sooner the better, although it doesn't appear that, Congress doesn't act real fast on a whole lot of issues, but if they could act pretty quickly on this, that would certainly help you guys out.
At the speed of government.
I think that says it all, and we will conclude for now on that note. Chief, thanks for stopping by. Please keep in touch. We wish you the best. Raul, thank you for stopping by.
Thank you.
Anything else that we should mention right now that you'd like to?
Well, so we'd like to thank the city of McAllen and all the stakeholders, NGOs, faith-based organizations, the local law enforcement, and especially our agents and those that support our agents, because they've been doing an exceptional job under these conditions, and we thank them for their effort and their support and their sacrifice.
Gentlemen, keep in touch, and thanks for stopping by. That is the Chief of the Border Patrol Rio Grande Valley Sector, Kevin Oakes, and the Deputy Chief for the Rio Grande Valley Sector, Raul Ortiz, joining us in studio on 710 KURV.